I got a video for y'all. The season 1 Puritan cleansing for Zenless Zone Zero. This will probably be my last video talking about this all this shit, because I just want to, guys, I just want to enjoy season 3 when this shit happens.
Alright, I've had enough. Let's have a conversation about this. OUverse recently announced one of the biggest additions coming to Season 3 for Zenless Zone Zero, that being the reveal of Phyrois, a manifestation of the power that resides within Bell and Wise that we've seen them gradually develop and control over the course of the story.
Yes.
The most noteworthy examples being them surviving the self-destructing explosion from Sacrifice Bringer during
which was crazy, by the way. This was, and at this point, we knew that Bell and Wise had some crazy ass cracked ass powers, because this man literally, I mean, we can literally go back. Look how big that it created a mushroom cloud. No normal human survives this.
being them
At all.
surviving the self-destructing explosion from Sacrifice Bringer during version 1.4,
Yes.
curing Vivian of her fatal self-sacrificing ether corruption in version 1.7, and stopping
remember that.
Shang Guang from taking her own life in order to halt the plans of the creator in version 2.5. In
Yes.
less than a day, Phyrois would receive an overwhelming amount of positive reception on social media from almost every corner of ZZZ's community. But of course, where there is praise,
I did too, because I was like, yo, an MC, yo, we're getting a JoJo stand? Insane.
to be sung, comes with it the same trotted out complaints of the game losing its identity for basically doing anything that isn't just Season 1 ad infinitum.
Yup. Now it's just the same fantasy slop you get in HSR and Genshin, for its original aesthetics that were more grounded in urban. Guys, and I feel like we're gonna see a lot of hypocrisy in this video. He's gonna give examples of hypocrisy in this video. I'm just gonna be straight up with y'all. We're gonna see a lot of stuff. We're gonna go back in time. I think this is gonna be insane.
These kind of people I've taken the liberty to refer to as Season 1 Puritans. People who for one reason or another believe
They are Gen 1ers. Think of Gen 1ers from Pokemon, where they think Gen 1 was the best, the pinnacle of Pokemon. No wrong at all. When you realize Generation 1 had game-breaking bugs, so many problems when it comes to moves, broken Pokemon everywhere, non-existent typings, speed was basically the most broken thing ever. If you didn't have speed, you were trash. Broken moves that was basically you were able to stall out turns or recover. Mewtwo was busted. You get the gist.
that Zenless Zone Zero has been in a constant downward spiral.
Oh, by the way, one-shot moves don't recharge either. There's no cooldown on one-shot moves if you one-shot a Pokemon. Yeah, it was that broken.
Quality and appeal ever since the start of Season 2 going onward. And as I've shown off in a previous video,
Wait. It was one. No, wait. It was Hyper Beam. There was no charge on Hyper Beam if you one-shot at the Pokemon.
many of these people have either quit the game a long time ago or don't even play Zenless Zone Zero to begin with.
Yeah, this is
Want
true.
to speak on behalf of its community.
Yeah, this is true as well. This is 100% true. Most of these people that are complaining are just like, man, I wish ZZ was back at the old days of how it went. And then you realize these guys haven't touched the game or posted about it in fucking months, or since like 1.x.
And what they think they want. Other common names for them include tourists, posers, ARPers, or my personal favorite, Season 1 dick riders.
Oh my god, bro, yes. And this kind of what I love Season 1, dude. I love all the characters in Season 1, okay? The urban feeling, nice, right? But man, it feels so fucking annoying hearing these people just say, man, I miss Season 1, I miss Season 1, I miss Season 1. Jesus, bro.
And for today, I aim to do my part and help squash these noisy little insects that can't help but buzz in people's ears. Let's start off with the biggest case in arguing that ZZZ has lost its identity, the Proxies. Going as far back as the ending of version 1.2, We learned that Bell and Wise were both students of Helios Academy,
Yes,
one of the top
I did do
institutes
that
for
part of the
Hollow
story.
research, and a place that taught the best and brightest with knowledge of the Hollows. They were both under the care of the well-renowned research director Caroline Arna, being raised by her as well as being given the cybernetic enhancements and technology related to Eos and the Hollow Deep Dive system. During the fall of the old Eridu capital following the emergence of Hollow Zero, Carolyn had disappeared, and
Yes.
was even believed to have
We're
played
still
a
looking for our
major
teacher.
role in the near collapse of humanity and was publicly condemned for it. This became Bell and Wise's driving motivation up to now in the story, becoming proxies, using the technology left behind by their mentor, and one day investigating what really happened in pursuit of the truth and to clear Carol's name.
Yes.
The problem that the Season 1 purists have is the
My fault.
change in direction for the proxies throughout version 2, transitioning from a behind-the-scenes protagonist who worked in secrecy and relied on agents to do the dirty work into someone who will now fight alongside them in Season 3.
Yes.
Let's get something straight right away. The advantage Bell and Wise have as Python is not the ability to control Eos and the HDD system, rather their ability to use Eos and the HDD system in order to bridge a connection with the outside world while exploring the Hollows. Regular proxies and HIA staff, by comparison, must rely on only themselves and what they bring in at all times. The reason they were using Eos directly to explore the Hollows for the longest time was because of their incredibly fragile ether aptitude that would pose serious physical complications faster than the average investigator, likely a side effect of their cybernetic implants that were never resolved for a long time due to the absence of Carol Arna. And while yes, the proxies taking a more direct involvement in Hollow investigation has posed a safety risk to their operations, Eos and the HDD system are not foolproof options either, as seen with the HDD system being hacked in version 1 by an anonymous hacker, hacked again in version 2.6 by Yokai, and even Eos suffering crippling hardware damage from Hollow Raiders during Chingy's agent story in version 1.1. The fact of the matter is that Bell and
Yeah. All those examples, I did see all those examples. All those examples are 100% true. You literally cannot rely on AI 100% of the time. Sometimes the MCs, Bell and Wise, literally gotta go in and get their hands dirty. Because think of literally what happened. Getting hacked a few times, running out of battery charge, getting hit so hard that you potentially will shut down. And if Eos is knocked out for the entire raid, not the entire raid, for the entire thing, then what else are they gonna do? It makes a lot of sense, right?
Wise gaining these new powers in version 3 is actually the best route for their development and screen time without compromising the gameplay itself. If the ZZZ team decided to keep the proxies out of the Hollows and only control Eos, they would have even less presence in the story than they already do right now in Season 2. If they were to bring back the TV mode to make them more involved again, the backlash would be something you and I could never truly comprehend after going more than a year of cultivating and catering to an audience who've continued on without the TV mode.
Yep. Yeah, like now we're already in a situation of having no TVs, and if they try to bring back TVs, bro, there'll be so much backlash. The amount of backlash bringing back the TVs would do now would be generationally terrible. And then obviously if Bell and Wise we're still using AOs to do the hollow stuff, we wouldn't be seeing them. These two MCs would just be only appearing at certain points in the story. Main thing would be like Austrial's whole thing and the AOD. Those would be like the main points you would see them, but like everywhere else, and like obviously walking around New Eridu. But everything else, we would just be going through the eyes of, Eos. And I'm glad that Bella Wise is able to go around, walk around in the story. I'm glad we are seeing the MC do more than sit back in a chair and just type. I'm sorry, I like seeing my MCs do MC stuff. And it's going to get even better in Season 3.
That leaves us with only one real option that isn't just maintaining what we have right now, which is to finally give them the ability to fight threats within the Hollows. Something that we all should have expected to happen at some point. And if you ask me, I don't think we need to wait until the game's third year for something like that to happen. As for the approach of having them fight using pyroists, I think it's a very creative and interesting idea that's thematic to the world of Zenless. The end goal for humanity as a whole is to stop the Hollow threat, with the entire purpose of the Void Hunter title being awarded to those who either prevent major Hollow-related catastrophes or developing groundbreaking technology to give humanity an advantage.
Yeah.
Human experimentation is something that happens frequently in the world of Zenless, not only by the new Eridu Defense Force military, but even within the former Helios Academy, as seen with both the Proxies and also teased at by Seed during her story quest in version 2.2.
Yeah, remember, this is the world of Zenless Zone Zero, guys. It is an urban fantasy. What people really don't understand is they're very stuck up on the urban setting of the game and only pointing at design choices, right? They're only pointing at design choices. Guys, we are in a fantasy setting as well, fighting against world-ending threats like the Hollow, trying to keep humanity alive. They're doing anything and everything in their power to keep themselves alive. They are way more advanced than the current day technology we have right now. I mean, they are doing shit. I mean, they got Seed is in a whole mecha suit. I mean, what else? Yi Xuan with her ink, Miyabi with the cursed blade, Ye Shengguan with her mystical power with the Qingwing sword. There's just, and obviously the intelligent constructs themselves. Literally, Ban Yue, Shingi, Arya, Billy, they are all examples of walking, talking, and doing normal everyday tasks like a normal human being. They live amongst humans. We don't have that. We don't have that, guys. And obviously, Therians too. We don't got people with Tanuki tails, Nekomata ears, and two tails, or people like Lycon walking around. I think people can see that and understand clearly we're not in the world of ZZZ. There's a lot more shit that goes on in ZZZ that they gotta worry about. Let's be real. Us humans trying to deal with that with hollows, we would get destroyed immediately. I'm sorry. We're getting fucked. We are way too. We have people on the internet that care way more about what fictional characters do than our actual people in the real life. How do you think we're gonna deal with a hollow invasion? We can fucking destroy it. Yeah. I'm glad that the MCs are able to fight back, because anything we can get, any advantage we can get against against the Hollow is good.
Virois, for all intents and purposes, is a man-made ether creature that is a result of Carol Arna's work. And simply looking at their design will show a lot of similarities with that of an ethereal, but with some clear differences in physique, colored limbs, body plating, and ether core to give off a sort of purity to their form that sets
some Iron Man
the
type shit,
twisted
basically.
abominations found in the Hollows. That is about all there really is to say for why many Season 1 Puritans think negatively of Bell and Wise at this point in the story. And look, I'm not saying there hasn't been some obvious bumps in the road in regards to how we've gotten to this point, but the time of ZZZ being a story of working from the shadows is long past us, and I'm confident in where things are going for Season 3.
Yeah, I would say, like, guys, I know you love the urban style. I get that. But the story is trying to advance to a point where we need to start fighting back against these big ass threats. The villains are moving ahead. They're doing even crazier shit right now to basically either one, take over the world, or have the Hollows go even crazier and wilder. We can't just be sitting back in a chair anymore and just be like, well, as long as I'm controlling Eos. No, because clearly there are still threats of fucking big ass AIs and hackers. We had to deal with that shit in 2.5 with the AOD. Wait, no, not 2.5. 2.6. I was like, wrong patch. I was scratching my head like, what patch are we on? Yeah, we're on 2.7. In 2.6 with the Angel's Illusion, we had to deal with a whole ass fucking super artificial hacker. And there's more of them. I think there's like 2 more of them in the story. But Fairy isn't the only one. And we had to fight one of them. I forgot his name. And that man hacked everything. What do you think Bell and Wise could do if they just stayed in one place? I really would love to know. Really would love to know.
Now then, let's get these next 2 argued points over with, because quite frankly, I don't see much reason in dwelling on these for that long, given how cut and dry this actually is. To anyone suggesting that there's been a massive dip in quality between Season 1 and Season 2 are grossly misremembering just how bad things actually were, assuming they actually played half of the content in Season 1 that I am referring to. I will give you this. Version 1 is better than version 2, and version 1.4 is better than version 2.5.
I can agree with that.
But that's it. The beginning and finale of Season 1 is better than Season 2. Everything else, however, is just worse. 1.1 was filler content with no main story progression.
That is true. That is true. It was just filler. Literally, if you remember this, right? It was literally Jane Doe on an investigation with Seth, and it was basically Seth x Jane Doe. The story. That was it. That was literally a fan fiction in the works. Seth x Jane Doe.
And was only interesting because of the character dynamics of Jane Doe and Seth. 1.2 was decent, but when was the last time you heard anyone actually talk about version 1.2?
Ooh. Damn. He's frying people. He's frying them right now. That is true. Because people only remember 1.2 for Bernice. No, they only know about it because of the characters. Caesar, Bernice, and like Lucy, Piper, all of them, because they're the star shows. They're the star players. But realistically, who remembers that story? It was basically a guy who got tired of his boss, double-crossed him, turned him into an ethereal, and that was it. And Caesar went in and saved the day. He kept herself alive because there was a hollow portal. I'm sorry.
1.3 was again another filler patch that was somehow less interesting than 1.1 because Yanagi is an underdeveloped character.
That is true. That is true. This was supposed to be like a Yanagi patch, but it was mainly setting up for Miyabi because Miyabi was literally right after all of this. They were trying to really get people to like Yanagi, you know, being the mom, the hero that saves Section 6 from this threat, even though Miyabi got the final kill.
And no, less than an hour of lighter aura farming doesn't make up for that fact.
Oh yeah, that's right. Lighter was in that patch too. That's fucked. Damn, that's actually fucked, dude. Lighter was in that patch. Yeah, Season 1 was a mess.
1.5 was pretty good, but again, lacks any meaningful story progression. And
yeah, this was just a celebration patch. Generally, this was just a celebration patch.
Therefore, cannot compete on the same level with 2.6. 1.6 was a...
Yeah, 2.6. Look. I know people are going to be like, oh my god, Angel Illusion, they didn't really do much. That actually did have story progression. We learned about a new AI. One of the new big AIs, literally in that fucking 2.6, literally in that patch, and actually had some main story progression in the process.
Amazing because of the dynamic between Lycon and Hugo, but treated Soldier Zero Ambi and Trigger like afterthoughts despite this being their debuting patch, not Hugo's. All that just to then backpedal on the more interesting gray morals of Hugo anyway in 1.7, as well as shoehorning his character development right in the middle of the story, breaking flow and pacing. And this is before even addressing how split the ZZZ community was on Vivian as a character at that time. Let me quickly address this last point first so I can tie this all together. That being the complaints of newer character designs and the vague notion of how ZZZ lost its urban aesthetic.
Here we go. This is the big thing that we have been waiting on this entire video.
When the Puritans complain about character designs, they're almost always referring to either the Cunning Hares or Miyabi. That's not
Yeah, that is so true, man. They when they see Miyabi's design not being this, obviously no skin exposure, a very modest outfit, they think this is the pinnacle of ZZZ. ZZZ sold well because of Miyabi's design solely. Miyabi's design did work, I will say that, but she also sold because she was a very hyped up Virgil character archetype, is what I'm going to call her. And she had very aura farming cool moments in the story that basically carried her hype through 1.0 all the way to 1.4. So that's also added there too. And then the Cunning Hares, yes, the Cunning Hares did start off the whole urban style. They were the first group that was shown to us in ZZZ when it comes to the teaser and stuff of what the urban fantasy is as well.
Not to say the other factions and agents don't get mentioned here and there, but it's overwhelmingly the Cunning Hares or Miyabi. I hope at this point I've painted a clear enough picture for what the Season 1 Puritans with a massive hate boner for Season 2, and by extension, the hate for the newly revealed Pyrite
Season 3 as
actually
well.
are. They're an obnoxiously loud group composed of TV mode loyalists, nostalgia chasers, bad faith actors, and probably quite a few people who are just straight up racist to Chinese people for good measure. They don't want Zenless to grow in ambitions and scope. They want the game to live in an indefinite loop of version 1.0 and 1.4 with
That is
zero recollection of the game's problems during that time and zero understanding of why this cannot work anymore.
That is literally what I was trying to say with all these designs coming out. And I was telling this to my friend too. Guys, we cannot simply just only be in season 1 for the next 5 seasons continuously. That's like an anime, right? That's like an anime doing the same plot, being in the same. Okay, you know what? Let me rephrase that. Let's think about One Piece, right? And I don't really know much about One Piece, but the one thing I do know about One Piece is that every island, every new area they go to is pretty different and it's pretty unique with a new bunch of set of characters. Now imagine when Luffy started off in his adventure with the base island, the normal island, the first island with the major arc, and you just copy and pasted that every single fucking time through all the seasons. That shit would get boring as fuck, and the series would have died if they didn't decide to expand on different regions in the world. There's a reason why a lot of fantasy worlds are very enjoyable, because no matter where you go in the world, there's something different and new to see and explore. You can go to the you can go to the high mountains, right? And see dragon people, or the high mountains with volcanoes and see dragon people. You can go to the gladed grasslands and see like a settlement of humans. You can go out to the roaring rapids of oceans and see demi-humans like shark people, jellyfish people, dolphin people, mermaids. You can go to the sky, look into the skies and see a floating city like harpies, like harpies and all that, and shoot even some crazier shit like gargoyles and stuff. It's that type of mindset that ZZ is going for right now, that they need to expand and explore on their scope of the game. I do like the urban setting, I don't get me wrong, and I love the fantasy aspect too, but that fantasy aspect is what's giving them a more broader take on ZZZ. If it was just urban action game, then this game would literally kind of just eat itself out, because the game did have story problems. Like he literally listed, 1.0 was good, 1.4 was good, but everything else around it did not really advance the main story like that. It just felt like we were in factions, dealing with a whole bunch of other factions, not really progressing with the main story of, damn, We got hollows growing out of control. Damn, the villain is getting even wilder. Damn, all this, right? There's a lot, right? There's a lot. And they're just trying to expand as much as they can with the fantasy tag they have on the game. That's it.
In the past, I used to defend the earlier gameplay elements and design philosophy behind the launch version of Zenless Zone Zero and the TV mode. That time, however, has long passed, and I've come to terms with what we have now. While not as unique anymore, uniqueness is not an automatic correlation to quality or even value. Looking back retrospectively, I don't think the TV mode should have existed as a thematic cost-saving measure for the game's development, and I would just rather that Hoyoverse gave the ZZZ team more resources to begin with so they didn't feel the need to cut corners.
Yeah, they did. Yeah.
As for the supposed moving away from the game's urban style, I will simply say this. I want to see ZZZ experiment and get creative with their newest characters, and shackling them into the expectation that everything needs to fit some arbitrary interpretation of urbanism stands in opposition of that very creativity.
Thank you for saying the thing out loud for these people to fuck. Let me just hear it one more time for the back so people can hear it.
And shackling them into the expectation and get creative with their new. Say this. I want to see ZZZ experiment and get creative with their newest characters, and shackling them into the expectation that everything needs to fit some arbitrary interpretation of urbanism stands in opposition of that very creativity.
That is exactly what I've been saying as well. There's a reason why I was so excited, and if you can see it from my reaction, I was so excited, I was so geeked, because we're going to a whole new place that is completely different from what we've seen from Season 1 and New Eridu, and Season 2. I am way more hyped for Season 3 than Season 2, because a whole bunch of shit is new, a whole bunch of shit is fresh, the characters look good. I can't wait to see what we're going to be doing with Milk Bringer. That's what I'm going to be calling her. MILF Bringer. That's funny. MILF Bringer, Milk Bringer. That shit is hilarious. And Ramio, I think that's how you say her name. Ramelia. Oh my god. Angel. Alicia 3.0. Whatever. And I can't wait to see what we do with all those characters. But simply having the tag urbanism and all that shit is kind of crazy, right? It really is crazy that we're going to take the urban aspect literal as fuck, and it has to make the entire game revolve around being urban. That's just not how games work. That's not how the live service game works.
If a character comes out that I don't like the design of, I simply won't pull for them. And if I start skipping too many characters, I'll shift my priorities around and start pulling duplicates of my existing agents. But just to be perfectly clear, if you're someone who loves the art style and design concepts of ZZZ's characters, then I would at least hope you'd want to see what those same character designers can do with different themes, motifs, and reference material.
Literally. I want to see ZZZ go out their way and keep experimenting. Someone literally said there were no Thyrans, and I saw some people say, man, no constructs or Thyrans. Internal constructs, we don't know yet. There could be some more later in this patch, in the 3.x season. But someone said no Thyrans, and then I'm looking at the horse girl cigarette, and I'm like, that's a horse girl. What the fuck y'all talking about? See, this is why I say some people just talking out their ass. They don't even play the game.
And with the reveal of Pyrois for Season 3, it would seem an overwhelming majority of us already feel this way, and anyone still complaining at this point needs to just give it a rest and walk away. If after almost 2 years of this and a wealth of data proving otherwise isn't enough for the Season 1 Puritans, then there's only one option left, and the ZZZ community has already been rapidly moving in this direction in the last few months following some of the more heinous accusations being thrown their way in the most recent patches.
The gate, yes. The ZZ community has been in the most okay. At first, it was really ramping up with Fufu, right? Quingy was fine. There was gatekeeping because hold on, I'll pause. I'm just gonna show y'all right now, guys. The first character demo, one of the first character demo trailers. This was the first 4 seconds, 5 seconds of this trailer. Chu Yu wins ass. Shane Doe's grippers, bro. And this trailer blew up 126k likes and 8.8 million views. This trailer broke people's minds because we knew for a fact after these two trailers, we basically knew what the game, where ZZ was going to go to. We 100% knew the direction ZZ was going to. And I'm all for it. And holy hell, this right here, just want to say it right here. I'm glad ZZZ, out of all the games, is really ramping up its gatekeeping. It's gatekeeping, right? With Suna and Norma, AOD, Fufu, Dylan, Zhao, all that. I'm glad these characters coming out because it keeps filtering these people that stay in this game, complain too much, and keep talking shit for no reason when they have no idea what the fuck they're talking about in the beginning. Anyways, I love the fact that we're getting Norma. I love that Norma is an S rank and is pissing people off. Good, it should. You should leave afterwards. You shouldn't be playing this game if it makes you that mad. I love the AOD selling pretty well. They're doing God's work. But man, oh man, I just love the rampant amount of, not power creep, that's the wrong shit. All these games have power creep. What's the word I'm looking for? I love the rampant amount of gatekeeping that ZZ's doing. Shit, and I can't wait for more.
Recent patches. Gatekeeping. It's not an ideal solution, far from it, but it's the only option left at this point amidst the constant belittling of the games community. So be it then. If they want to constantly push us into a corner, then we'll make this the best corner we could ever ask for and keep them out.
Yeah. Literally, like, I'm just going to be real. Good video as well. Basically talking about all the problems that ZZZ, that these season 1 people have, because genuinely it is so annoying. It is so annoying, right? Seeing all these people the entire day complain about shit that they don't even fucking care to play. It's insane. But this is the last video. This reaction is way too fucking long. I was yapping a lot, but I had to talk a lot just to get my thoughts across. Because, oh my god, bro, I'm fucking tired. I'm just fucking tired of this shit. No more of this. We're not going to yap about this anymore. This will be the last video on this. We're waiting, and we're going to save our hype for 3.0. Alright, I'm going to see y'all later. Love y'all so much.